I'm Karen Christine Santos from bsaben 2, and I'm going to discuss engineering ethics, social experimentation. So first, let us define what is engineering. Engineering itself is based on the improvement of current life, whether in terms of technology or efficiency, with less financial efforts. The process of engineering lets you go through a series of different experiments when it comes to practical use. Though it's not like an experiment in laboratory under controlled conditions, which is done while learning. An engineer should be ready to do same on a social scale involving human subjects. And now, what is experimentation? Experimentation is the main aspect of designing process. An engineer who is out to design the parts of a car will be able to understand the result only when it is tested practically. Preliminary simulations are conducted from time to time to know how the new concept of engineering acts in its first rough design. Materials and processes are tried out, usually employing formal and experimental techniques such tests serve as a basis which help in developing the final product. So, so what is social experimentation? Social experimentation is in the process of developing a product. An engineer generally learns through experimentation. To simply put, a trial and error method is the mostly used one to obtain result, but that goes with some calculation. We can say that primarily, any experiment is carried out with partial ignorance. Even the outcome of the experiments may not be as expected. An engineer should always be ready for the unexpected output. The improvement of current prototype will lead to some change which may or may not be fruitful. So that means that the experiments made are mostly subjected to risk, though a project is small. Many uncertainties are likely to occur depending upon the changes that might occur in the altered model or materials purchased. At times, when the materials were subjected to continued stress and strain or some process, it might happen that the nature of the substance changes, which might lead to some destruction. These are the areas of experiments where nothing is really predictable. Although the experiments and the result are uncertain, there are few things which an engineer is out to keep in mind. Consider the following points which are related to the moral aspect of human behavior. One is to maintain the safety of human being. Two is to procure their rights of consent. Next is to keep them aware regarding the experimental nature of the project. To warn them about the probable safety hazard. Next is should monitor the results of the experiment continuously. Next is having autonomy and conducting experiments. Next is accepting accountability for the result of the project. And lastly, exhibiting their technical competence and other characteristics of professionalism. Next, we have here conscientiousness. The ethics that an engineer should follow depends upon the moral standards of the individual. Conscientiousness implies consciousness, which means the sense of awareness. Every engineer is expected to have some moral standards, irrespective of the role he is performing. And that states that The present working environment of engineers narrow down their moral vision, with the obligation accompanied with the status of the employee, but this might break the moral laws, along with satisfying the employer's goal by which behaving as a responsible employee, by not doing any fraud, not breaking confidentiality, and violating rights. An engineer should be conscious about the unexpected. Adverse outcome may come up as unexpected result of their experiments, or these they are answerable to the public. So there are three types of conscientiousness. One is informed consent, two is moral autonomy, and last is accountability. So let us define each of them. Informed consent. As a responsible engineer, one should be informed of the facts so as to be conscious. The engineered products of the company should be in such a way that they can never be used to perform any illegal or unsocial activities which causes destruction. And it is to be observed that if a company produces a product that are out of passion, or the items which promote wastage of energy or do not fetch in benefits, such things are to be well explained to the employer. And alternative solution. Alternative solution should also be suggested by the engineers. Next, we have here the moral autonomy. Any person can be morally autonomous only when one is being genuine in one's commitment towards moral values. Moral beliefs and attitudes must be integrated into an individual's personality, which leads to a committed action. To sum up, the responsibility to answer an unexpected result influences an engineer to involve himself personally into the work. This leads to moral autonomy, wherein he also gains the trust of the employer through his commitment. Such responsible action to lead to great outcome. And lastly, we have here accountability. So, what is accountability? Accountability can be understood as the moral responsibility that we have towards our actions. It means a tendency to be willing to openly accept the moral examinations towards one's action and being responsive to the assessment of others. The gap between casual responsibility and moral accountability is common in any profession, along with engineering. So, let us now consider the following instances to understand what is accountability. We have here four um, instances. Let us talk first the first. First, when a group of persons are involved in the completion of a project, then the accountability refers to the group, minimizing the chances of acceptance of moral responsibility towards a specific action, where each person makes a only small contribution to something or much larger. Second, the accountability is diffuse within the organization and one has to accept it. Both credit and failure need to be considered for accountability, where the work is diffuse and the areas of personal accountability is delimited within the organization. Third is at times when the engineers are pressurized to move to another project while at current is still underway. Then the accountability is limited for only meeting schedule. And lastly, there is always a moral involvement beyond the laid down institutional role where the engineers cannot separate themselves from personal responsibilities of their work. So that's all for our topic. I hope you understand what I'm explaining. And sorry for some noises that we have encountered. And that's all. God bless us all. Thank you.